thinks this wall's gonna stop me? What do we got in here? Box of radios! What the heck? Nothing to eat in here. Dang it. Well, yeah, it's a box of radios. Let me get them out. Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, as you can see, it started with this one, the XH Data 221, mainly because of the shortwave here. Now I've got like the ultimate, if you want to play shortwave and being able to power it at any time. That one covers 3.3 to 12. It's a wind-up radio. It's heavy. But I got that one in the 80s. And I've been listening to shortwave since I had ears, I guess. But what I wanted to talk about is not necessarily all these different radios. I'm going to discuss these guys in the back here in a second, because those are the latest acquisition. But shortwave, like everything else, has changed since I first started hearing it, you know, in the 60s and 70s and on, you know. There was a time when it was just rich with a bunch of different stations broadcasting towards North America at different times, and you could just turn it on and just tune the band and pick up damn near anything. Those days have changed, and mainly because of the internet. You know, just like a lot of people don't like traditional knives and they want to go to the fancy super fast flipper knives and all this other stuff. Radio is the same way. Anybody that still listens to radio, it's usually because it's in a car or something like that. And even then, you've got satellite radio. So the days of listening or trying to find a fading in and out type of channel, that's a specialized thing, and there's not as much to find out that, you know, that's out there. But one of the things that I wanted to show you, let me get it open here, is if you do, just go to shortwave-info, and what you can do, I mean, it's up here and it's saying find frequencies for any station, any language right now. And I just typed in 5 kilohertz, 5 megahertz, 5,000, whatever it is. And it pops up and it says, all right, here's where the sun is. Here's where the transmitters that are located that are broadcasting on that frequency right now. And it says WWV, which is a time signal. It says right here, language and what it is, time signal. And it's in English. And it's coming out of Denver, Colorado. This one way out here is in Hawaii, Kaloi Point. So that helps. That helps when you land on something, you go, what is this? Now, how do you know you're exactly on that frequency? That's where, if you're using one of these, this is still a very excellent, perfect, if you want to listen to shortwave, you don't need much more than this. Unless you want to go single sideband, and that's what I got those for. And I'll talk about single sideband here in a little bit, but even though, you know, this dial is more precise, you know, it's breaking it, it's giving you a better range, so you kind of figure out what you are. If you want to type in that frequency, it's pretty much got to be exact. Well, this guy's got shortwave too. Turn it on. If I long hold it, it's a sleep timer. There we go. And then right now it's on mute. But I preset some of these in here. See, that's a time one. And it's saying something. It's just really hard to pick it up. See, that's what you pick up. I mean, you might run into that. That mutes it. And then long hold turns it off. So what I do with this, it can scan the frequencies. And I hook it up sometimes to a little wire antenna, you know, that you loop that you just rent out on your balcony somewhere or throw up in a tree, and you clip onto the antenna. And get this guy out of the way. He keeps turning on for some reason. Close all. And then we want to turn you off. Sorry. Just turning things off in here because this thing will start buzzing. But that helps with it. All right, now let's get into this. All right, so this guy was inexpensive, like $11 or so. This guy was 20. So, you know, I was going the right way with this. You know, you go from expensive to less expensive. As far as like a hobby, you know, it usually goes the other way. And then I decided, well, I need something that does digital scanning. So that's why I got this guy. And it works pretty well for what it is. The signals that I pick up tend to be overloaded. So I have to grab the antenna right here, and that helps attenuate it. Basically, that's what's going on. And it comes in clear. But it's very good for finding out what the frequency is. All right, so then I started thinking, well, maybe I need single sideband, you know. Maybe I need to get something that's single sideband. Look how tiny this thing is. Of all these radios, this one is the most fun. Let's put that out right now. This is the upgraded version of the Mini Spy radio, whatever you can see on Banggood. It's made by Amnon Bolt. A little speaker here. It came with this and this type of antenna. Now this antenna right here works very well for AM because this does not have a built-in ferrite antenna in it. This is what you're using for everything, and that doesn't always pick up AM as much. It's easy. This is also directional, so once you tighten in, it's got a little SMA connector. Once you tighten it in, it still can rotate around even when it's tightest on the connection down there. This aerial whip tends to work better for most things. It doesn't always stay in place. It'll, you know, flop around and it'll loosen up down here. If I tighten this up, it might do better, but I just usually finger tighten it, you know, because I don't have any pliers on me and stuff. And so you can see how it'll, especially when it's extended, you know, with all this leverage, it'll tend to just flop and stuff. But if you've got a clip-on wire, it won't make as much difference. All right, now, the reason why I like this little guy, it feels kind of a little dinky and everything, but it's just got so many features on it. Let's extend our aerial or antennae. You're not going to get a whole lot in here. This one has the upgraded thing. I just like to say right now, let me mute this or turn it down so we just got volume. Turn it way down right now. What I like about it is it not only displays a frequency, it has a frequency level up here. You got your battery voltage. Let me turn this light off and see if that helps. No, it did not help. This confuses the crap out of me here. This little green light, sometimes this one turns red. Maybe it's a saturation or something, but I don't know what that means. And even this confuses me much more. Because it'll get like a 0-1 up here, and then it tends to keep going up. And no, it's not that it's finding frequencies or anything. But you've got a nice metal button here. This is a click type detent encoder, so click, click, click. And once you push it in, you come up with the menu. This is not a full review of this. You know, you can find other ones, but let's go to band, and it just jumps through the different bands, but it does everything. VHF is music, all right? So it'll also get the radio data signal, you know, in there and decode it. Doesn't always read it super great. The stronger you got a signal up here, see how that thing's flopping around? Hopefully that's not loud enough for it to even hear what's going on here. So let's say you want to, you push that for a thing. Sometimes it doesn't always recognize when I do that. You can go up here, click, 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 you know, different things, and go seek down, pow. And it'll go to the next radio station. And it's got all this other little automatic gain control, volume, and all that. But see, now we got a 2 up here. What did it just do? Is another station? See that red one flashed? I almost got those kind of figured out. But, you know, I don't know why. Sometimes that thing flashes and doesn't flash. And this really gets me here. It's not an amount of time. I was thinking maybe that means it's down to minutes. You know, how many minutes have you been listening to it? No, I don't think that's it. You can manual tune, but again, you can just sit here and do a seek down, seek up. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit here. And that's not... It's decent, you know, for a little thing. I mean, this is a headphone jack, so you can put a little... you can listen to it on headphones. It's got an amplifier in this one for a headphone. Here's your little on-off switch. Let me turn this off for a second. So I can use this one to find frequencies also, and it goes, you know, like it'll land on a frequency, and I won't hear anything on shortwave. So that's where this guy comes in. So it also has power on off, but you really got to watch this, because I first started scanning FM, and I go, man, I'm not getting anything in FM, but this is just like a filter, a mechanical filter here, that a switch that filters it, you know, like this is going to filter out any FM coming into AM, and this is going to filter out any AM coming into FM. But you have to be on that for single sideband and all that. And then whoops, that antenna's knocking stuff down over there. And then you got a little power switch back here, and you turn it on. You can charge it through USB-C. Like I said, this is not a complete review of this. It tells you the version and everything, and then it jumps in, and you're going to get a lot of... So you got all these different bands, and then CB, you got CB band also in there. And then FM, of course, you ain't hearing anything right now because we don't have that switch on, but it's still picking it up. If I go back here, I'll switch it over to that.
Other makers have followed suit, leading to an unprecedented race to the bottom.
I've covered the Chinese auto market for...
See, and it does that too,
plenty of price wars
but
that time. But none has been this brutal,
and it's kind of iffy. And the volume,
that's Lei Xing,
the speaker is much better on this one.
And the former chief editor of China Auto Review. Xing says the current price war is also notable because Chinese regulators are signaling they are unhappy and will intervene.
We are so unhappy.
The Car Manufacturing Association issued a statement and took a subtle swipe.
So this is a
certain
NPR.
automaker has led a substantial price reduction campaign. The
That's what it's
said,
picking up.
adding that
National
price
Public
wars
Radio or
cause
something
panic,
like that.
squeeze profits, and hold back industry development.
See, it's coming in stereo.
Tu Li is managing director at Sino Auto.
That's switched over to AM in the back. I mean, you barely hear it. So there's the AM band, and again, you don't have a ferrite antenna in here, So you're better off getting some kind of like passive loop and stuff. But what I'm trying to do with this, like I said, is I go to shortwave. Let's go to that 5. And you can change the stepping right here. Go bigger chunks. You just got to remember, if you were in 1 and you were in something like 580.3, you have to switch your stepping back down to 1 to change that to 0 if that's what you're trying to do. But you can go 5, 10, 1, 5, and 10. 10's the fastest to get you down there because it's just dialing. There's no scanning that I know of. Well, let's get down to 5.00. Oops, on the wrong one. That's another thing. I don't always know what band I should be on. It's on this one. Should have gone up. I'm learning. It's in step 5 still. See, that's it right there. That's the time thing. Now, if you wanted to do upper and lower sideband, you just go to mode right here. Switches to sideband. See how it changes and everything? And then you got the BFO frequency. Automatic gain control is on. Stepping. I don't remember what that is. Bandwidth 3 kilohertz. I don't know what that ratio is, or that 80%. I think that's signal strength. I don't know. It might be. Maybe it's a battery capacity, because this is the updated one. That might be the battery percentage, 80%. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think so, because it changes when things go through. Alright, so you go back to upper sideband, lower sideband, upper side, AM. See how this color doesn't change. It just stays like that. It's just these little dots. Aluminum housing, PCB board, you know, in the front and back. It's decent. You know, it comes with a little rubber feet, you know, and a BNC connector. Back here, there's your headphone jack. The charging LED is red on this, and then when it's fully charged, it turns green. Yeah, green. This is for charging. You can also, I guess, do firmware and everything. And the same thing with this. This is for like firmware updating. Now, word about firmware updating. These are open source radios. So a lot of people change the firmware to do a lot of different things. And the problem with that is, if you don't know what you're doing, you can turn that into a useless thing. They call it turning into a brick, because that's basically what it becomes after that. You brick it or break it, because a lot of things can go wrong. You're basically flashing the hardware in there. You're giving it instructions on the EEPROM in their electronically programmable memory, and you're telling it, operate this way from now on. And so every time you turn it on, pink, it's going to come on with that version. And for these, some of them, what they've done is, some of the software developers are in Russia, so the thing comes down in Russian. And if you don't read Russian, you might not install it correctly, or it might just come in with the Russian language. There, all kinds of issues. All right, let's get out of this mode here, because let's get into a different band. Let's go to CB. Now, this is good for, you know, again, I'm inside an apartment. I'm about a mile away from a freeway. Somebody'd have to key up right then, you know, for me to catch it. But I can just tell this thing. It's easier to read on my eyes, you know, right here. But I can just tell it. You can change the brightness and everything. If I just tell it, seek down, and it'll go through, and if it finds something, see, I have to use a bunch of different radios to find out what's going on. If it finds something that stops on, and you think, all right, what is that? 27.375. I don't hear anything. And so you go to mode, and you go upper sideband. Now it's getting a signal. Do you hear anything? Let's change the volume. See? It's getting a signal. We got a 0-1 for it, whatever that means. So what I do is I leave that there, 27.375. I turn this guy on. I go to oh, that was it. Maybe this is it. Yeah. Okay, I'm on step 1, so let me get a 0. There. And do a step 10, or yeah, step 10. And we want 27.375. See, this is geeking around right here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, step. See, now I'm getting at 80%, so I think that's the signal strength. Could be wrong. Alright. Now, still, I'm not getting anything because we're on the AM. We're not going sidebands, so let's go sidebands. Now, what do we got? We got a tone. Let's go, that's on lower sideband. Same thing with upper sideband. That's what this is picking up, but I'm not hearing it. Now, another reason why I might not be hearing it is my frequency range is gone in my hearing. Anything above like 4,000 hertz, I can't hear it. It's completely silent to me unless it's the humming, you know, the frequency in my ears. Alright, so what did that prove? Well, maybe that was a sideband that somebody was transmitting, you know, voice on or something. And I wouldn't have heard it. Well, I think on just a regular, you know, mode, I would have heard it. It just would have been sounding kind of alien. So we're back to AM now. It would have sounded like, you know, you couldn't really pick it up. And that's when you go to the sideband, and then you might tune the frequency up and down just a little bit, you know, to pick it up. But that's what I like about this thing is it's small, it's lightweight, you can carry it around. This works pretty good on this thing for picking up AM, like I said, but it doesn't do that well. I mean, it works all right. Go back to the FM band. All I'm saying is if you can pick up one of these that's already, you know, upgraded, like I think this one, as long as it's like this and everything. There are clones of it for some reason, clones of cheap radios, but you know, the Chinese will copy even themselves. Let me put that on. It's an SMA connector. It's small and tight. Alright, so we turn this guy back on. Oh, like I said, I only got this yesterday, so let's go to, you can't find FM in here, it's called VHF, very high frequency. You're looking for, see, medium wave is AM, you're gonna like, what's MW?
Follow-up to his Green Lights book. That one's coming out on September 16th. And then Kenny Chesney has a book.
Alright, so see, it does well.
Okay, am I right? A trap.
And again, we can seek down. No, we don't want to get any radio strikes here. Let me turn your volume down a little bit. That might help. AI's got to be able to hear it. That's one of the ways you can get around some of this stuff. If it's copyrighted, is like if it's got to read a threshold of background noise where it's saying, I should listen to this. I don't know. Just guessing. But yeah, this is okay. You know, you just take it off and put it on when you want to listen. It's alright for that. Let's go to band, AM band, medium wave 1, 10 kilohertz stepping, so that's AM for USA. And let's do a seek down. You can seek up, seek down, but I know we're at the... See, it's not picking up much. It should. There's some very strong stations around here. And again, a lot of times, rather than spending a lot more money on a better radio, sometimes you just, if you do a little bit better with your antenna, you don't have to go crazy with an antenna, but I mean, if you got the space, you can do a long wire antenna out, you know, the backside of your yard and pick up a lot more stations and stuff. But again, it's not what it was as far as like stations. So I use this guy for mainly airband. It does good for scanning for police frequencies and picking up air traffic control and stuff. I can just stay on that frequency and listen to it. This is good for still just picking up a bunch of different radios. You pick up something here and you go, wow. And I start looking for it on other radios. And you might find out on this one, it's just that there's so much compressed into this that you really just barely touch this to tune, man. And you've already jumped quite a bit. But again, the whole thing is, I start looking at it as reevaluating before I get too deeply into all of this stuff is, are you having fun with it? Well, yeah, I enjoy these. You know, this is a cool little, it's kind of like in between a desktop and everything else. It's not anything better than that 219, but it does give me sideband, single sideband capability. What is that going to get me? I don't know. You know, maybe one day I'll find somebody talking on one, and especially on CB, because that's where it used to do it a lot. CB radio here in America, you'd have upper and lower sideband, and the CB radio technically was limited to 5 watts output power, but with the sideband you could increase a little bit more legally, I think. I don't know. It would reach out further also. But again, if you were on this center frequency and somebody was transmitting on sideband only, on lower or upper, all you would hear is, it almost sounds like it's scrambled, but it's off frequency. And you can't tune down to it because you can't tune down to just that. You're getting the whole frequency. So that's that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on. But yeah, of all the ones, man, I think this is worth it. If you got a choice between, I'd get just the aerial, you know, the screw on. I don't know where I put it. Dropping things. Drop my phone. Dropping all kinds of stuff. It's hiding underneath here. Like I said, carry it around like this. This switch is positive enough that it won't, mess up. There are 4 screws here if you feel like taking it apart. I had a little bit of a gap over here when you can kind of still see it. So it's not waterproof, let's put it that way. If you wanted to do it a little bit, you could just duct tape or scotch tape around, but you're still going to have your switch. And like I said, it's not waterproof. It's not designed for that. But I mean, for carrying around, man, look at that. What can we compare it with? Well, it's pretty small. Three inches by, well, 5/8. Inch and a quarter. So yeah, not a lot here. You've got a button that, like I said, turns, and then this push down gets you into your menus and allows you to go up and down on your menus. But that's it. It comes with a little screen protector and a little green thing saying, yeah, here, pull this off. So I already did that, and like I said, I've only had it for a day. But yeah, when I'm listening to shortwave, basically, I find the frequency. I find the station, an active station first with one of these two usually, and then if I want to find out what it is, I try to go down to here to get the exact frequency, and then I tune this guy down into upper or lower sideband to find out what I'm listening to, and it's usually just a carrier tone. But like I said, I can't hear that well anymore. Too many being around gunfire and aircraft, jet engines and gunfire tends to mess up your hearing after a while. But yeah, I rambled on much too long, and hope you got something out of that other than this is how it goes. I better not say that. It's like cursing yourself. I don't intend on getting any more shortwave radios, but I might get another digital version that scans up and down. I don't know if I need to include single sideband capabilities with it. When you do that, you just increase the cost significantly on a decent radio, and you can get decent ones that'll digitally tune even for less. There's a Ritecus V115 that seems to be pretty good for just basically doing this, scanning, finding the frequency, and then breaking it down further. Maybe I'll get this to work with the sidebands and stuff where it's working everything, but just a great little radio all around to carry around. Doesn't have weather band in it, so I think that's more useful in America is weather band. You're going to get a lot more information off of weather band. This is more for people who just want to play around, you know. I mean, it might come in handy because ham radio operators can transmit on those frequencies, and when cell towers go down and everything else and disaster hits, ham radio operators can power up and start transmitting information. And